April 6, 1945, 180 miles northwest of Okinawa, Lieutenant Commander Yukio Seki adjusted his flight goggles for the final time as 355 Kamikaze aircraft prepared for Kikusui No. 1, the largest suicide attack in naval history. The veteran pilot who had pioneered special attack tactics at Leyte Gulf smiled grimly as he calculated the mathematical certainty of their mission. Overwhelming American anti-aircraft defenses through sheer numbers and spiritual dedication that no mechanical system could counter. "Today we become gods," Seki radioed to his squadron as they approached the American fleet. "The enemy possesses superior ships and guns, but they lack the spiritual strength to sacrifice everything for victory. Our divine wind will sweep their decadent technology from the seas through pure Japanese fighting spirit." What Lieutenant Commander Seki couldn't know, what none of the 2,800 kamikaze pilots preparing for the 10 Kikusui operations could have imagined, was that hidden inside every American 5-inch shell was a revolutionary electronic device no bigger than a flashlight that would transform naval warfare forever. The VT proximity fuse would turn their spiritual dedication into mathematical impossibility through technology that made human sacrifice obsolete. The statistical reality was already being calculated in American fire control computers that predicted devastating effectiveness. Each proximity fuse contained a miniature radar system that could detect approaching aircraft and detonate automatically at optimal range, creating airbursts that no pilot, no matter how determined, could survive through willpower alone. What Seki couldn't comprehend was that American industrial capacity had already produced 22 million of these electronic miracles, turning every naval gun into a precision instrument that would reduce the rounds needed per kamikaze kill from over 100 to just 310, mathematics that made their divine wind impossible. Before we continue with this incredible story of how American science transformed the kamikaze threat into a technological triumph, I want to invite you to join our community of military history enthusiasts. Please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Your support helps us bring these amazing stories of innovation and warfare to light. If you're fascinated by how cutting-edge technology changed the course of World War II, give this video a thumbs up and share it with anyone who appreciates the hidden battles between science and sacrifice. Now, let's dive into this remarkable story of invisible signals versus unstoppable spirit. Japanese confidence in kamikaze effectiveness wasn't misplaced fanaticism. It was mathematical certainty based on 18 months of success that had demonstrated how spiritual dedication could overcome material disadvantage. Since October 1944, special attack units had sunk or damaged 368 Allied vessels, proving that human sacrifice could achieve results impossible through conventional tactics. The technical specifications supported Japanese confidence through systematic analysis of American anti-aircraft limitations. Standard naval guns required direct hits or close proximity bursts timed by mechanical fuses, accuracy impossible to achieve against high-speed, maneuvering aircraft attacking from multiple directions simultaneously. Vice Admiral Takejiro Onishi, architect of kamikaze tactics, had calculated the mathematical advantages of suicide attacks. One pilot, one plane, one ship. American anti-aircraft fire achieves 0.9% hit rates against conventional attacks. Suicide tactics guarantee 100% pilot commitment and 85% target engagement, overwhelming enemy defensive systems through spiritual determination. The psychological preparation that created kamikaze pilots emphasized spiritual transcendence over mechanical technology, teaching airmen that divine protection and pure dedication could penetrate any defensive system designed by enemies lacking proper fighting spirit. Japanese pilots received final briefings emphasizing American technological dependence as fundamental weakness. Captain Rikihei Inoguchi, commanding kamikaze operations from Kyushu, exemplified Japanese confidence in spiritual superiority. American sailors depend on mechanical devices and electronic systems that fail under pressure. Our pilots possess divine wind protection that no radar or gun can counter when combined with absolute dedication to Emperor and homeland. The aircraft selected for kamikaze missions reflected Japanese philosophy of achieving maximum impact through minimal resources enhanced by pilot dedication. Zero fighters, obsolete bombers, and training aircraft became deadly weapons when guided by pilots willing to guarantee target engagement through personal sacrifice. The training doctrine supporting special attack operations emphasized spiritual preparation over technical instruction, teaching pilots that mechanical skill mattered less than absolute commitment to mission completion. 3 weeks of final preparation focused on meditation, purification rituals, and psychological conditioning for death. The target selection protocols developed for kamikaze operations prioritized high-value vessels requiring precision that conventional bombing couldn't achieve. Aircraft carriers, battleships, and large cruisers became primary objectives for attacks where pilot dedication could overcome defensive firepower through guaranteed accuracy. The timing calculations that governed Kikusui operations assumed American defensive limitations based on mechanical fire control systems requiring human operation. Mass attacks timed to overwhelm processing capacity would succeed through sheer numbers exceeding enemy technological capabilities. As Lieutenant Commander Seki led 355 aircraft toward Okinawa, he embodied Japanese confidence that spiritual dedication could triumph over American mechanical superiority through divine wind protection and absolute commitment that no electronic device could counter or comprehend through pure technological calculation. The stage was set for the ultimate test between human sacrifice and electronic precision, a confrontation that would prove whether spiritual dedication or technological innovation represented the future of naval warfare. Japanese confidence in kamikaze effectiveness wasn't spiritual delusion. It was mathematical proof written in American blood across 18 months of suicide attacks that had revolutionized naval warfare through systematic demonstration that human sacrifice could achieve results impossible through conventional tactics, overwhelming superior technology through sheer determination and acceptance of certain death. The statistical reality supported Japanese calculations with devastating precision. Since October 1944, kamikaze attacks had achieved kill ratios of 1.78 American ships per 100 sorties, effectiveness rates exceeding conventional bombing by 300%, while requiring minimal training, obsolete aircraft, and pilots considered expendable by traditional military standards, yet capable of guaranteed target engagement. Through spiritual dedication, the secret lay in systematic elimination of self-preservation instinct that limited conventional pilot effectiveness, creating warriors who could penetrate any defensive system through absolute commitment to mission completion regardless of survival probability. American anti-aircraft fire lost effectiveness against pilots who welcomed death as mission requirement rather than unwanted outcome. Admiral Somu Toyoda, commanding the combined fleet, had analyzed kamikaze mathematics with strategic precision. Special attack tactics achieve certainty impossible through conventional methods. Normal pilots avoid enemy fire and seek survival, reducing accuracy and mission completion rates. Kamikaze pilots guarantee target engagement through acceptance of death, overwhelming enemy defensive calculations. The technical advantages achieved through suicide tactics eliminated variables that limited conventional attack effectiveness. Weather conditions, fuel constraints, and pilot skill became irrelevant when mission success required only aircraft delivery to target area through determination that no defensive system could calculate or counter through mechanical means. More devastating still was the psychological impact on American personnel, forced to engage enemies seeking death rather than survival. Standard defensive tactics assumed attackers would break off when faced with overwhelming firepower, but kamikaze pilots continued approach regardless of damage, creating psychological pressure that conventional training hadn't addressed. Captain Rikihei Inoguchi had documented tactical innovations that maximized kamikaze effectiveness. Low-altitude approaches avoid radar detection, while high-speed dives minimize exposure time to anti-aircraft fire. Multiple simultaneous attacks from different vectors overwhelm defensive coordination. Pilot determination guarantees penetration regardless of mechanical defensive superiority. The aircraft modifications developed for kamikaze operations emphasized explosive impact over pilot survival, removing unnecessary equipment while adding armor plating around fuel tanks and bomb loads. These adaptations created flying bombs guided by human intelligence capable of adjusting approach based on defensive patterns. The training philosophy supporting special attack operations eliminated complex tactical instruction in favor of simplified procedures focused on target approach and impact. 3 weeks of final preparation produced pilots capable of basic flight control and navigation sufficient for one-way missions requiring no advanced combat skills. The target prioritization that governed kamikaze operations selected vessels whose destruction would achieve maximum strategic impact per pilot sacrificed. Aircraft carriers, ammunition ships, and command vessels became primary objectives for attacks where individual dedication could achieve results equivalent to entire conventional squadrons. The timing coordination developed for mass kamikaze attacks exploited American defensive limitations through simultaneous approach from multiple directions. Radar systems and fire control computers became overwhelmed when processing dozens of simultaneous contacts approaching at high speed from different vectors. Lieutenant Commander Yukio Seki, analyzing American defensive patterns during preliminary attacks, had identified systematic weaknesses exploitable through coordinated suicide tactics. Enemy anti-aircraft fire requires time for tracking and range calculation. Multiple simultaneous approaches from different altitudes and directions exceed their processing capacity, creating penetration opportunities for determined pilots. The communication protocols linking kamikaze formations enabled coordinated attacks that maximized individual pilot effectiveness through systematic approach patterns. Radio coordination allowed real-time adjustment based on American defensive responses while maintaining mission commitment regardless of casualties. The maintenance procedures supporting kamikaze aircraft emphasized mission completion over pilot safety, eliminating safety equipment and survival gear while ensuring maximum explosive impact. Aircraft became delivery systems for pilots whose primary weapon was absolute dedication to target destruction. The psychological preparation accompanying kamikaze training created warriors who viewed death as mission success rather than failure, eliminating fear responses that limited conventional pilot effectiveness. Spiritual conditioning produced pilots capable of continued attack approach regardless of defensive fire intensity. By April 1945, Japanese kamikaze tactics represented mathematical perfection of human sacrifice applied to naval warfare, achieving effectiveness rates that conventional methods couldn't match through systematic elimination of self-preservation instinct and absolute commitment to mission completion regardless of survival probability. What Japanese strategists couldn't anticipate was that American technology had developed countermeasures that would render human sacrifice mathematically irrelevant through electronic precision that eliminated the timing advantages kamikaze tactics exploited against conventional defensive systems. April 6, 1945. USS Laffey, DD-724, Radar Picket Station 1. Seaman First Class James Thompson loaded another 5-inch shell into the destroyer's forward mount, unaware that hidden inside the projectile was a technological marvel that would redefine naval warfare. The VT proximity fuse, developed in absolute secrecy by Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory, contained a miniature radar system that would automatically detect incoming kamikaze aircraft and detonate at optimal range without human calculation. "Here they come again," shouted gunner's mate Chief Robert Johnson as radar contacts multiplied across the scope. 20-plus bandits inbound from the north. All guns commence firing when in range. What Johnson didn't know was that each shell carried electronic precision that would transform their desperate defense into systematic elimination of suicide attackers. The first proximity-fused shells detonated 75 feet from incoming kamikaze aircraft, creating airbursts that shredded planes and pilots with shrapnel patterns calculated for maximum lethality. Where conventional contact fuses required direct hits, impossible to achieve against maneuvering targets, the VT fuse eliminated guesswork through automatic proximity detection. The psychological impact was immediate and devastating for Japanese pilots who discovered that American shells exploded without striking anything solid, creating invisible barriers of steel fragments that made approach impossible regardless of spiritual dedication or flight skill. The divine wind was meeting electronic precision that rendered human sacrifice mathematically obsolete. Dr. Merle Tuve, directing the Johns Hopkins team that developed the proximity fuse, had envisioned exactly this scenario. We're giving every naval gun the ability to create automated airbursts at optimal range. No more guessing about timing or altitude. The fuse detects the target and explodes automatically. It's like having a robot gunner that never misses. The technical sophistication hidden inside each fuse represented American industrial capability applied to miniaturization impossible under wartime constraints. Radio transmitters, receivers, amplifiers, and timing circuits, all packed into a device weighing less than 4 pounds while withstanding 20,000 G acceleration forces during firing. The production statistics supporting proximity fuse deployment demonstrated American manufacturing superiority that Japanese intelligence had never detected. Crosley Corporation, RCA, and other contractors were producing 70,000 fuse daily by April 1945, enough to equip every naval gun with unlimited electronic ammunition. Lieutenant Commander Hugh Wood, gunnery officer aboard USS Helena, observed the transformation with professional amazement. Our hit probability has increased by 500% since receiving VT shells. Japanese planes that used to penetrate our defensive fire are being destroyed at ranges we never achieved before. It's like every gun became a precision instrument. The mathematics were devastating and unprecedented. American naval guns equipped with proximity fuses reduced ammunition expenditure per kamikaze kill from 1,100 rounds to 310 rounds. Efficiency gains that made Japanese suicide tactics economically unsustainable despite pilot willingness to die for mission completion. The radar technology, miniaturized into each fuse, operated on principles that Japanese electronics industry couldn't replicate under wartime production constraints. Doppler detection, automatic ranging, and explosive timing required precision manufacturing that American civilian electronics companies achieved through mass production techniques. The reliability statistics emerging from combat testing validated American engineering approaches over Japanese precision craftsmanship. VT fuses functioned effectively in 92% of engagements despite saltwater exposure, extreme temperatures, and violent maneuvers that disabled more sophisticated equipment requiring careful maintenance. Captain Frederick Moosbrugger, commanding Destroyer Squadron 12, documented the tactical revolution. Proximity fuses have fundamentally changed anti-aircraft warfare. We can engage multiple targets simultaneously with confidence of destruction at optimal range. Japanese kamikaze tactics are becoming obsolete against automated defensive fire. The electronic components that enabled proximity detection included vacuum tubes, capacitors, and circuits that Japanese industry couldn't manufacture in sufficient quantities for widespread deployment. American civilian electronics production provided technological foundation impossible to achieve through military-only manufacturing. The testing procedures that validated proximity fuse effectiveness included live-fire exercises against drone aircraft that demonstrated consistent performance under combat conditions. Each fuse underwent quality control testing that ensured reliability standards impossible to achieve through manual inspection alone. The installation procedures that equipped American naval guns with proximity fuses required minimal modification to existing weapon systems. Standard 5-inch guns became automated precision instruments through simple ammunition change rather than complex mechanical upgrades that wartime conditions would make impractical. The coordination protocols linking proximity-fused guns created defensive networks that automatically engaged multiple targets without human fire control calculation. Electronic detection eliminated reaction time delays while ensuring optimal engagement range for maximum lethality against high-speed targets. The transformation was systematic and irreversible, American technology had created invisible barriers around their fleet that made kamikaze penetration mathematically impossible, regardless of pilot dedication or tactical innovation. Electronic precision was defeating human sacrifice through automated detection that eliminated the timing advantages suicide tactics had exploited. The divine wind was meeting technological sophistication that rendered spiritual dedication irrelevant through electronic calculation that no amount of pilot training or personal courage could overcome. April 12, 1945. Kikusui No. 2 Operation. Lieutenant Commander Seki led 380 kamikaze aircraft toward the American fleet off Okinawa, expecting to overwhelm defensive fire through sheer numbers that had proven effective during previous mass attacks. What awaited them was technological annihilation that transformed their spiritual dedication into systematic elimination through electronic precision no human pilot could counter. The mathematics were devastating and unprecedented. American proximity fuses were creating airburst patterns that destroyed kamikaze aircraft at ranges exceeding 1,000 yards, eliminating the close approach advantages that suicide tactics required for mission completion. Electronic detection made pilot skill and determination irrelevant against automated explosive timing. Impossible, radioed Lieutenant Saburo Sakai as VT-fused shells detonated around his formation without striking aircraft directly. American guns fire exploding shells that detonate in empty air. Our approach vectors are being destroyed by invisible barriers that respond to our presence automatically. The production capacity supporting American proximity fuse deployment had reached industrial scales that Japanese intelligence couldn't comprehend. By April 1945, American factories were manufacturing 2.1 million VT fuses monthly, more electronic ammunition than Japan-produced conventional shells for all calibers combined. USS Laffey became the ultimate testing ground for proximity fuse effectiveness during the most intensive kamikaze attack in naval history. Over 90 minutes, the destroyer faced 22 individual suicide attacks while firing 1,900 proximity-fused rounds that created defensive barriers impossible to penetrate through human sacrifice alone. Gunners, Mate Chief Johnson documented the systematic slaughter. Every shell creates an explosive cloud exactly where it needs to be. We're not aiming at aircraft. We're creating killing zones they can't avoid. The electronics do all the work while we just keep loading ammunition. The technical sophistication of each proximity fuse exceeded Japanese electronics capabilities through miniaturization impossible under wartime manufacturing constraints. Radio detection systems required precision components that American civilian industry produced routinely, but Japanese military factories couldn't replicate despite theoretical understanding. The reliability under combat conditions validated American mass production philosophy over Japanese precision craftsmanship. VT fuses functioned effectively despite extreme G-forces, temperature variations, and electromagnetic interference that disabled equipment requiring specialized maintenance impossible under combat conditions. Dr. Merle Tuve analyzed combat reports with scientific satisfaction. We've eliminated the human element from anti-aircraft fire timing. The fuse calculates optimal detonation range automatically, creating airbursts that no pilot can evade through skill or determination. It's automated lethality. The kill ratios achieved through proximity fuse employment exceeded every projection from peacetime testing. American naval guns were destroying 31% of attacking kamikaze aircraft, compared to 9% effectiveness rates using conventional ammunition, improvement that made Japanese suicide tactics mathematically unsustainable. The psychological impact on surviving Japanese pilots was documented through intercepted communications, revealing systematic demoralization. Pilots who had accepted certain death discovered they couldn't approach targets due to automated defensive fire that responded faster than human reflexes. Captain Rikihei Inoguchi attempted tactical adaptation through altitude variation and approach timing. But proximity fuses adjusted automatically to flight patterns regardless of pilot evasion attempts. Electronic detection eliminated the surprise advantages that kamikaze tactics required for defensive penetration. The industrial comparison revealed fundamental American superiority in electronics manufacturing. While Japanese engineers understood proximity fuse principles, their production capacity couldn't achieve miniaturization necessary for practical deployment. American civilian electronics industry provided technological foundation impossible under military-only manufacturing. USS Helena gunners observed systematic kamikaze destruction with professional appreciation. They keep coming but never reach us. The VT shells create walls of shrapnel that stop everything. We're firing into empty sky and destroying aircraft through electronic timing. The ammunition, consumption supporting proximity fuse operations, demonstrated American logistics superiority that sustained unlimited electronic ammunition delivery. Ships received VT shells faster than they could fire them, eliminating conservation requirements that limited other navies under wartime constraints. The training procedures required for proximity fuse employment remained identical to conventional ammunition, eliminating learning curves that complex technology might require. Gunners loaded electronic shells exactly like standard ammunition, while achieving automated precision impossible through human calculation. The coordination between multiple ships equipped with proximity fuses created overlapping defensive zones that made kamikaze penetration impossible, regardless of attack direction or pilot determination. Electronic detection eliminated coordination delays while ensuring optimal engagement sequences. By late April 1945, proximity fuses had transformed kamikaze attacks from devastating threats into mathematical impossibilities. American technology had created automated defensive systems that rendered human sacrifice obsolete through electronic precision that no amount of spiritual dedication could overcome. The divine wind was being systematically eliminated by invisible electronic signals that detected approaching aircraft and created explosive barriers automatically, proving that technological superiority could neutralize even the most fanatical human sacrifice when applied through industrial capacity that enemy production couldn't match. August 15, 1945, Kanoya Air Base, Kyushu. Lieutenant Commander Yukio Seki stood among silent aircraft that would never fly another kamikaze mission, his notebook containing 3 months of combat reports that documented the systematic failure of spiritual dedication against American electronic warfare. Around him, 2,400 surviving special attack pilots faced the mathematical impossibility of their divine wind, defeated not by superior courage, but by proximity fuses that made human sacrifice obsolete. The Americans have invented automated death, Seki admitted to his assembled pilots as Emperor Hirohito's surrender broadcast ended their war. Our spiritual strength could not overcome their electronic precision. They defeated the divine wind through invisible signals that responded faster than human dedication. The final statistics told a story of technological domination that mathematics made inevitable. American proximity fuses had reduced kamikaze effectiveness from 11.6% ship hits to 2.8% during the Okinawa campaign, while destroying Japanese aircraft at rates exceeding 31% per attack wave, numbers that rendered suicide tactics economically unsustainable, regardless of pilot willingness to die. The human cost of this electronic revolution was documented with devastating precision. Over 22 million VT fuses had been produced during the war, creating automated defensive capabilities that eliminated 2,800 kamikaze aircraft while saving an estimated 400,000 American casualties through prevention of successful suicide attacks. General Curtis LeMay, analyzing Pacific air operations, summarized the technological transformation. Proximity fuses didn't just improve our anti-aircraft fire. They made kamikaze attacks mathematically impossible. No amount of pilot training or spiritual dedication could overcome automated explosive timing that responded to aircraft presence. The technical comparison revealed fundamental differences between human sacrifice and electronic precision. Japanese kamikaze pilots required 3 weeks of training and spiritual preparation to achieve single-mission effectiveness, while American proximity fuses provided automated lethality that functioned perfectly without human input or maintenance under combat conditions. But the most devastating evidence was systematic. American industrial capacity had produced electronic ammunition faster than Japanese forces could manufacture conventional pilots, demonstrating productive superiority that made human resources irrelevant when technology could achieve identical results through automated systems. Dr. Merle Tuve, reviewing proximity fuse combat effectiveness, documented the ultimate victory of science over sacrifice. We created weapons that eliminated human variables from anti-aircraft fire. The fuse calculated optimal detonation automatically, making pilot skill and determination irrelevant against electronic precision that never missed or hesitated. The strategic implications extended beyond individual battles to encompass complete transformation of naval warfare. Proximity fuses had joined radar and atomic weapons as the three decisive secret technologies that ended World War II through capabilities that enemy forces couldn't counter, using conventional methods or human dedication. The production achievement represented American technological mobilization that Japanese industry couldn't comprehend or replicate. Converting civilian electronics manufacturing to military applications had created production capacity exceeding 70,000 proximity fuses daily. More electronic weapons than Japan manufactured conventional shells monthly. The psychological impact on Japanese military culture proved more lasting than tactical defeats. The systematic failure of spiritual dedication against electronic automation challenged fundamental assumptions about human will versus technological capability that had defined Japanese military philosophy for centuries. Lieutenant Commander Seki, reflecting on kamikaze operations during post-war interviews, provided definitive assessment. We believed spiritual strength could overcome any mechanical advantage through absolute dedication. American proximity fuses proved that electronic precision defeats human sacrifice when technology eliminates the variables that courage and determination exploit. The Cold War implications became apparent as proximity fuse technology influenced guided missile development and automated defensive systems. The same electronic principles that defeated kamikaze attacks would evolve into smart weapons that defined modern warfare through automated target engagement. The industrial lessons learned during proximity fuse production influenced post-war American electronics development, creating technological foundations for computers, telecommunications, and precision guidance systems that established lasting technological superiority over enemies relying on human-based solutions. The final irony emerged through Japanese post-war technological development that adopted American electronics manufacturing principles for civilian applications. The same engineers who had failed to produce proximity fuses became leaders in consumer electronics through learning automated production techniques that enabled economic prosperity. At the 1995 commemoration of Okinawa's 50th anniversary, surviving kamikaze pilots and American veterans shared technical appreciation for weapons that had defined their combat experience. Seki, now 89 and a successful electronics engineer, addressed 200 American veterans with professional respect. You taught us that human sacrifice becomes obsolete when technology achieves automated precision. Your proximity fuses eliminated divine wind through electronic calculation that no amount of spiritual dedication could overcome. We learned that future warfare belongs to automated systems rather than human determination. The auditorium erupted in sustained applause as former enemies stood together, united by recognition that technological innovation had accomplished what human courage alone could never achieve: systematic victory through electronic precision that rendered traditional sacrifice meaningless. The divine wind had indeed fallen silent, not through superior spiritual strength, but through American technological capability that created automated defensive systems responding faster than human reflexes and more accurately than human calculation. The proximity fuse had proven that in modern warfare, electronic signals defeat human signals, when industrial capacity can mass-produce precision that individual dedication cannot overcome. In the end, the war wasn't won by braver pilots, it was won by smarter weapons that eliminated human variables through automated systems that functioned perfectly regardless of enemy determination or sacrifice. The invisible shield had triumphed over visible courage, and in that triumph lay the future of warfare itself.